died, I've really enjoyed our time together.
Most people say their favorite video game growing up was Skyrim or Halo Combat Evolved or something like that. If you're still growing up, you might say Fortnite. Can you tell me your favorite game? Actually, hold that thought. I don't really care. Today, we're gonna be talking about my opinion. Hey, no, Gert. I've never heard of that stupid game. The first thing I would say is shut up. The second thing is I will tell you at the end why you haven't heard of it. So just grab your little lunchbox of power-ups that I made for you and let's go.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
I refuse to criticize this game, so I'm gonna be putting on my nostalgia goggles. 1 second. So the way I measure what my favorite games usually are is very methodical. I coined a new scientific term, hype actualization quotient, or hack for short. It describes a game's quality stacked up against the unrealistic expectations I built about it in my head before it came out. The hack of Kid Icarus Uprising was... It broke my instrument. Development of this game started in 2009, and it was formally revealed in Nintendo's E3 2010 press conference. For those of you who were born after E3 was pretty much canceled, it was kind of like Christmas in the summer. Even though it was a glorified like marketing presentation for shareholders, I don't know, it was great. Also, my eyes really hurt. When the trailer for this game came out, I didn't know what Kid Icarus was. I mean, Pit was the guy from Super Smash Bros. Brawl that they threw in for no reason, and no one really played as him. I was like, whatever. But you could download a 3D trailer for the game on the eShop. RIP, my condolences, I'm sorry. I'm deeply grieved. And that trailer had a really weird, mesmerizing effect on me, and I got really obsessed. My friend and I would walk around the playground in, I think it was 7th grade, and we would talk about all the insane features that we thought were going to be in the game, which weren't. But if you look at my citation on Hack again in the annotated bibliography for this, you'll see that it didn't matter because the game was actually better than what our little 13-year-old brains could think of. Even when we were all hyped up on Sunny D and Adderall, Metacritic didn't give it a 10. More like metacritically insane. The premise of this masterpiece is loosely based off of Greek mythology. They take more creative liberties adapting Hellenistic literature than Percy Jackson does, which is a good thing because it means they're actually creative. Considering the state of the gaming and movie industry right now, that might come as a shock to you. This game's story mode is like all of the roller coasters at Six Flags mashed into one 13-hour ride that you're not allowed to get off of. I mean, you can get off. It would always tell you to take breaks, but I didn't listen. I didn't care. It was like if you go to a theme park and you want to just keep going on the roller coaster, and your parents are like, "No,
please, one more time, please."
Fine. You go on the ride by yourself. I'm gonna go into the gift shop and see if they have any Tylenol. From the outside, it kind of seems like a very standard plot. We got good boy and good girl try to defeat evil snake lady and stop her from killing everyone, which that does kind of sound basic and not interesting at all. Let's see what plagiarist idiot wrote this game story. Oh my gosh! Dad, I didn't know you made this game! The levels in this game start with an on-rails flying shooter segment where you can't control where you fly, but you can move yourself within the bounds of the screen and shoot enemies as they fly in your face. It can only fly for 5 minutes at a time, so once that time is elapsed, you set foot on land and then you start like a land battle segment. So sure, the gameplay loop is fly to place, then run to place, then kill big boss, but the ways that they stretch that very simple loop into like a crazy Mobius strip is pretty insane. The game is so complex that it pushes the 3DS and your body to its physical limits. The 3DS does not have 2 joysticks. It has 1 circle pad. So to move the camera, you have to use your right hand with the stylus, and then you move with your left hand and hold the system. You're trying to like hold the thing. This is how you're trying to play. Big Brother Nintendo was like, hey, Sakurai, our lawyers were thinking. That conversation led to them actually including a stand with the game that didn't even work. I didn't even use it because I didn't care. I didn't care about the pain. Life can be painful, but those are the most rewarding parts. So your physical limits are being pushed, and so is the hardware by a long shot. This is probably the best looking 3DS game. The character models are very good, and it's got really cool skyboxes that give it a sense of grandeur that a lot of games don't have, especially on a console like this. These really hurt. I'm going to take them off. Whoa. So this was one of the last instances where I wasn't completely spoiled about a game before it came out. I didn't really have access to the internet besides the eShop. In the 9th mission, you defeat Medusa, the main enemy of all the trailers, so I thought the game was over and I was pretty satisfied. But then this happened. 9 missions turn into 25. The missions are grouped into little 1 to 3 chapter arcs, kind of like in an anime. The first arc is where you're trying to defeat Medusa, and you get introduced to the cast of lovable idiots. They got Pit, Palutena, Pandora, who's like the ugliest lady ever, like a dark pit, Guts. The other people, they're really well voice acted. I don't know if you've played Breath of the Wild, which I love. For the minimal lines that they actually have, it seems like they're just Fiverr actors that they hired to do like 3 different characters. Kid Icarus, the voice actors are really good and they're hilarious. And they're like verbally abusing each other. They break the 4th wall, and the writing is genuinely funny.
Do you know how a chicken takes 3 steps and then forgets?
Forgets what? Pit? Forgets what?
It's a little bit cheesy, but I like cheese. Can you get a little more cheese on that? Just a little bit more. No, more. Yeah. Your manager's not looking. Just a little bit more. I almost got into a physical altercation with a kid over this game because at school, he told me that the characters were so annoying that he played the whole game with the volume off. You probably don't remember that, and you probably aren't watching this video, but if you are, I would say, fuck. After that first arc, it's casually revealed that Medusa's not even the real villain, and you have to start this really long battle with the Mads Mikkelsen looking Hades. Here are some more of the arcs. Puss in Boots and The Last Wish, where humanity is all chasing this phoenix to get a wish. There's one where nature takes revenge on humanity for global warming, and they decide to do this just by dropping nukes. There's a whole 3 or 4 episode arc where mechanistic hive mind robots like invade the planet, and everyone in the game just takes a break from fighting each other, and they do Independence Day, and they team up and they fight the aliens, and All Might's there.
Pyron senses danger, and now Pyron sees it.
There's one that you go in a star base, and it reminded me a lot of Star Fox. Honestly, this game is what Star Fox should have been. Star Fox, you can be buried next to the eShop there. There's a mission where there's a 3-year time skip. Hit and Palutena lose their bodies, and it turns out they've been slaughtering people for the last 3 years. As Pit's mind, you have to go into other people's bodies and play as them. Play as a little girl and a dog, Guts. You get your body back, but you don't get Palutena back. Viridi becomes your goddess. And they changed the whole main screen. It goes from Palutena's temple to Viridi's temple, and it's little details like that that really sealed the deal for me on the quality of this game. You get to play as Dark Pit, because Pit almost dies. It's just Dante's Inferno. You fly down to hell, you try to like heal Pit, and in this one, stupid, ugly Pandora gets her body back. Final arc is you convince Asbestos or Tony Stark guy, I don't know. You convince him to build you an Iron Man suit so that you can fight Satan. This culminates in one of the most over-the-top, hype-induced final battles that I have ever seen in anything. If you take a look in the little lunch bag I packed earlier with all the power-ups, you can find that there's a lot of little extra features in the game, and there might be a little note in there just for you. Instead of a normal difficulty setting, you bet more money and it gets harder, but if you lose all your money and it goes back down. I lost a lot of money doing this, so it taught me early not to gamble, so that's good. There was a little achievement area that you can do a bunch of little challenges, and it would give you weapons and other rewards, and it would reveal to you like a big mural. This was totally unnecessary but warmly welcomed, is the Super Smash Bros. Staple of being able to listen to all the music in the game, which is very good music, and you were able to look at these 3D models of all the characters with cool descriptions, kind of just like the Super Smash Brothers trophies. And also, you're feeling a little submissive, you could just straight up attend benediction in front of Palutena and tithe your money to her, because why not? That wasn't enough. There was a multiplayer mode, and it was fun, and a weapons crafting system where you force weapons to like have babies with each other. Actually, it was kind of more like transmutation. It was like cooking. Throw in one of these and then one of these. Let's see what we get. Oh wow, look at that. It's a giant stick that kills anyone in one hit, but the projectiles only move 1 mile an hour. Or you can get a set of boxing gloves that make you look like you're hacking because you're so fast, but they only do 1 damage. It was totally busted, but it was awesome. There were 9 different classes of weapons, and whatever you made or unlocked, you could use them both in the multiplayer or in the story mode. My favorite ones were the wolf claws. Oh man, yeah. I don't care what the wife says. I think I'll take them. They're not just skins. All of them alter your movement in unique ways, and they have different projectile properties and different visuals. I mean, you could totally turn this game into something like Destiny. That would be so good, but also really bad. Yeah, don't do that, Nintendo. So this game is truly, in my opinion, a masterpiece. And now that I'm not wearing my goggles, though, I'm kind of thinking it did have some issues. You know what? That doesn't even matter. What matters is how much I enjoyed it when I played it. Sure, I can take a step into the time machine and nitpick every little defect, but it doesn't take away how much of an impact it had on me. But even back then, there was one glaring issue. Not enough people bought it. This game sold about 1.36 million copies, which sounds like a lot, but that's a mark of shame in the Nintendo bloodline when put into comparison with its older siblings. They did a lot for the ad campaign. They made like an anime for it, and they had these little AR cards that they printed and distributed, and you could probably zoom in on this and put your phone on the floor and use it if you want. It was like the staple game for Nintendo events for a while. They probably expected this game to sell over 10 million, maybe even break the top 10 when it comes to 3DS game sales. So in plainer speech, it was a commercial failure. Going back to the whole Greek mythology thing, you know what they did to weak babies in Greece? They would leave them outside and then they would walk away. And that's what Nintendo did, because the studio that made this game was shut down like immediately after. And since then, there's been no news of a remaster. Or we can just actually commit to a sequel, Nintendo. Instead of just taking the safe route with a remaster, let's just make a new one. Like shit, let's have another kid. Where are you, Masahiro Sakurai? You said you're done with Smash. What are you doing? What are you making? Are you cooking something good? Like a new Kid Icarus game? This is like when a genius playwright actually gets to sit down and make something unique, and for years they pour their blood and sweat and tears into their magnum opus, and on opening night the curtains open up and there's 4 people in the crowd. Playwright's parents, a homeless guy who stumbled in because it was raining outside, and me as a 13-year-old. You see, this is why we can't have nice things. Why we can't have unique games like this. It's the same thing with the GameCube. You complain that developers aren't trying to innovate and they're not putting in effort. They're focusing on quantity over quality with their launches, and they only care about money. But you keep giving them money, and you let the good stuff literally fly under the radar. It's your fault. This is why mommy and daddy are fighting. You're making these big, fat, capitalist oinkers of human slobs revel in their money and their sense of genius at being right about what the gamers really want. Sorry, I got a little bit worked up. I know we talked about this. I'm sorry, but I wish I could get this worked up about how much I love this game. But whenever I think about it, I'm filled with sadness because of its fate. Kid Icarus Uprising flew too close to the sun, and in doing so burned up in a blaze so bright and brilliant that the eyes of mortal consumers couldn't comprehend how beautiful it was, and instead they turned their eyes to the dirt, and like a falling star, it made its way into the horizon and into the dark sea forever.